Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails. NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hope you like all the shows.
Here locally in the community, make sure y'all go check out Kneecap Body by Jeremy Jones.
That's right, it is the Lions Fan Cave Chat. I have a new face. It's an old face. I remember when I met him almost 4 years ago when I first broke into with Detroit Lions on the Prowl. I got him to be a guest with We Are Lions Nation when I was with Andrew Souls and Logan Erickson. It's PC Payload. Welcome back, sir.
What is up? Thank you for having me very much. Appreciate it. It's been a long time.
And, of course, we have our usuals. We got Bestrilla the Thrilla. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good.
And, of course, Will Vogel of Will Vogs 18 YouTube channel. So we got Matt Henry in the chat. He's a resident Facebook visitor that is of the Bears community. We are 3 subs away from 500 now. We gained 2 more today. So we are at 497. As soon as we hit to 500, I will do a randomizer 12 times from 1 to 500, and the ending number will be who wins the gift from Von Doom's Creations.
Jeremy, just asking, why number 12?
Why number 12? Where do you see 12 at?
You said the randomizer 12 times.
Oh, I'm going to run it 12 times so nobody can say I just ran it once and cheated and gave it.
Just 12's a random number. Okay.
Yeah, 12's a random number. But we got Smoking Dad in the building. Resident former DJ.
I love the music. It's great. Whoever thinks you need to take that soundboard away, no. The soundboard's legendary.
Like he doesn't like the dead gigglers from the 70s sitcoms.
He's just jealous.
But let's get into it. I'm going to start with what position groups are you most looking towards in this preseason game to see how they perform? I'm going to start with you, B.
I think I'm going to be looking at the wide receiver core because that's the one that they're really focusing in on because DC is like, hey, I need somebody to step up. So this is where they got to step up. The second game of preseason. Get one more after this. See what they can do.
Well,
I agree with B. I was telling you this before, because it looks like the Lions already have their three receivers: Amon-Ra, J-Mo, and most likely Khalif Raymond. So 4, 5, and 6, if they do carry 6, will be interesting because you got very different people. It could be Isaiah Williams, it could be a handful of people. So I personally think it'll come down to the last 2 weeks because I think, like I said before, the three I think are already solidified.
All right, PC payload.
Does Jake Bates count as a position or is he a person? Because there's nobody else to pick. It's like Jake Bates or nobody, right? So,
And Dan Campbell pretty much told him he's our guy now. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
anybody else.
it's the Jake Bates show position. Yeah, as you know, there's no competition there obviously right now, unfortunately, but um I think if you think about it from his perspective, you got to think how nervous that kid is because he's got nobody lighting a fire under his ass. He's the only guy out there. I think it'd be a lot easier if I had somebody pushing me versus being out there by myself, having to prove it with that's got to be the most stressful thing in the world. And so I'm really curious to see if he can, kind of go. He's kind of on an upward trend from what I see. He had kind of a bad few days in practice, and then he kicked like a 64-yarder with room. He could have kicked an 80-yarder. It looked like that thing was three-quarters of the way up the uprights going through. So, really like to see if he can maintain that composure and do it in a real-world scenario. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Right. It was good to see him kick that 54-yarder that boomed through the uprights in New York in the rain with the wind, because that was the knock on him is that he wasn't doing good outside. So they said, okay, we're going to let him shoot for a long one right off the rip. As soon as we got in a position where he could, he made it. The rain picked up in the second half and the wind picked up in the second half. And I said, I kind of agree with Dan Campbell going for it rather than doing the field goals at that point. Because why ruin somebody's confidence when they're just starting to make those type of kicks outside?
I
And then
agree.
when I was at camp Sunday, they closed camp by doing the 2-minute drills with each offense, second string and first string versus second string versus first string defense, first string versus second string defense, just to see who would score. And they made a big stop. And JMO struggled all morning that day, but came up clutch in between three defenders and caught a big pass to set it up. And he nails a 64-yarder to close out the practice.
What a way to close. You don't end on a miss. I tell people
was 8
basketball
yards
or
above.
whatever.
It was 8
Nobody You're right. Nobody remembers you missed a field goal at 4:52 in the third quarter. They remember it when you miss it when there's 3 seconds to go.
Exactly.
Every player is going to make mistakes, especially rookies. In his situation, especially where he's got nothing behind him. It's really I would love to see this game. Who knows what they're going to do with KC and their starters and whatnot, but I'd love to see it come down to a Jake Bates field goal.
Right.
Because it doesn't mean anything to obviously wins and losses don't mean a whole lot, but to us or to statistics, but I guarantee it matters to them and I guarantee it matters to that kid's confidence. So I'd really like to see it come down to a Bates field goal.
Yeah,
And
put him in a scenario like that would be helpful to train him and train his mind. I agree.
Exactly.
if you remember, out of those, what did they play, like 10 regular season games in the UFL? And 5 of them were at home. 3 of his kicks were game winners in Ford Field. That's huge. I mean, that's a game. That's a game situation. You can't simulate that in practice. You know what I mean? You can get close, but also the one thing I noticed, I'm looking at it, I was like, man, those goalposts look a lot narrower. And I'm pacing it off, and I was like, they're only 10 feet wide versus 18 and a half foot wide for the pro ones.
Wow.
And I think they do that on purpose to hone in their accuracy. You know what I'm saying? Because there's 2 sets of goalposts on each side of the field, so they can run their own practice for the 2s and 3s, and then the 1s can run on one side. And I think they do that on purpose so that whoever's set up in a field goal situation Jake Bates can just walk over there. He's warming up the entire day, kicking into the net between the two field goal posts. So he's always loosened up and ready to rock. But you
Well,
never know when you're to get in that position.
don't you think they're going to have to bring in somebody else though? You can't have Fox out there backing him up. So
Well, Dan Campbell said after the Badgley injury, they're not going to sign anyone. He's the guy. So take that
so if
off
he
the
gets
plate.
hurt, what do they do?
If he gets hurt, then we sign somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the position group's not like you got to have 3 weeks of training camp or anything like that. You know, get a veteran guy in there that just ball goalposts, ball goalposts, whatever. And but I just don't think it's good. I just don't think it's good for his development. I really feel like I know that they're whittling things down. They're not looking to sign anybody right now. So that'll be an interesting one to see
And
if he can.
I think that's mostly due to the other injuries outside of that position. Because we've had to add more O line depth. We've had to add more cornerback depth. We've had to add more linebacker depth due to some of the back end players getting injured.
Well, let's be serious about it, though. With this regime, I think the weakest part of the whole regime is the kicker position. They never really get really keen on the kickers in the first place. So I guess they're just going to go to bat with what they got, and then if it, push comes to shove, like Jeremy says, they'll just sign a kicker if Bates gets hurt. Knock on wood, he don't. But
Right. It basically it's Bates' job to lose on his own, whether it's by injury or by poor play. And you'll know because they did the same thing last year with Riley Patterson. Remember, we didn't have anybody on the roster. He started missing a little bit, and about a third of the way through the season, we signed Badgley back. So I'm thinking it's going to be that type of situation where they'll sign somebody to the practice squad.
Did Patterson sign with somebody?
yes,
Yes,
Washington.
Okay.
he's their kicker now.
Well, he's in competition for kicking. He's not their kicker.
So
He's
Dan Campbell basically said due to injuries, he's not really going to run much starters out there other than defense. And with them playing all their starters for a half in Chiefs, I kind of disagree with it for one thing. You expect our backups to block Chris Jones and company in that front seven. I don't think we're going to get to see much out of our wide receivers in the first half because I don't think our quarterbacks will have time. And I pray to God they don't put Hooker out there in the first half. Throw Jake from State Farm out there.
Can I go first?
Sure.
So I mean, I'm not trying to ruffle anybody's feathers if they have some sort of love affair with Sudfeld, but the boy trash, man. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's just I watch football bad, trash. Like, it's that simple. There's no I don't need to be a coach. I don't need to be in the locker room talking to. I don't need to see any of that. Under pressure, he crumbles. I've seen second string college quarterbacks with more composure in a stress situation than him.
Yep.
I don't know what their obsession with him is. In fact, I had a nice conversation with Mark Orem the other day about this very subject. And Mark and I get along a lot, but we do have our differences. But man, when it comes to talking about Sudfeld, we can go on and on and on because I just don't understand this coaching staff's obsession and love affair with this guy. I don't get it. And I love how far we've come. These last 3 years have been surreal, but there are certain things that they do that I don't understand. And there are other quarterbacks out there they could get for the same price as they'd be paying him that are far better. So I spoke my piece. I'm done. I don't know if that was the question, but
I get it.
I would someone like Fromm who's got no stats, basically. He's been a journeyman his whole career and done basically just backup work and basically held the clipboard for what, 3 years? Is he 3 years in?
He started one game due to injury his rookie season. It didn't go well. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was Nate Suck Valdesh. his stat line. But what
I'm
what he was able to do? He
He
had
was a
more
rookie.
composure. He had more composure and was able to get out of the pocket due to his athleticism. He
yeah.
accidentally has more rushing yards than Nate Suckfeld has for a career.
Yeah. So sorry if I pissed anybody off saying that, but I don't get it, man. There are some things I absolutely, again, I love where we've come. I love how far we've come in 3 years.
Yes.
And there's so much to love about this team. I get teary eyed thinking about watching us in the playoffs last season. But if Goff goes down and we're stuck with this guy, we're done. That's it. We're done for the season.
We're beyond toast. I get you. I'm going to go to the chat and then I'll get to you, Will. Matt Corral signs with Minnesota. That's a mid-level move. It is. Matt Corral didn't have that good of a look when he was at Carolina. Granted, that was with an interim head coach because Matt Rule just got fired and everything else that happened in that time. But he wasn't very good that fast after the season when he played.
He did go to the UFL and he backed up Adrian Martinez. In fact, he started the season um, with Birmingham Stallions. He did start the season, but they decided to go with Adrian Martinez at that near the end there
Yeah,
because he
and they
was a
pulled
better.
Adrian in that game and they put him in there and he played really
Yep,
well.
yep. But Matt Corral's not a bad quarterback. He's the backup anyway. He's just there for insurance because they don't really have a backup. So
He's like Jake from State Farm. He's always there.
that's right.
But anyways, Will, what's your take on what he just had to say?
About the starters or the whole
About
Sudfeld thing?
yeah, well, I asked about the starters, and he just went into the suck belt
Yeah,
thing.
I had to like
You
I
had
knock that
to.
one off.
immediately said Jake from State Farm should start this game. But anyway,
Um,
Will,
Sorry, bud. I
I
apologize.
like you said, our second string will not be able to contain Chris Jones if they're planning to protect him. But if I'm saying if they do play their starters, I would say at least a quarter, nothing more. And if it was something less, I would say only maybe a few drives. But I just don't want to risk any injuries, knock on wood. So I'd rather, even though Casey's starting theirs, but it's for a half, I don't want to see injuries.
be Strilla.
So in the words of my man in the Empire Strikes Back, it's a trap. Don't let Reed put you in that position where I'm gonna play all my starters because that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to get you to put your starters in so somebody gets hurt. And nope. You stick to your guns. Let these guys work up to that. I think they're going to probably more run the ball in the first half anyway, so they can figure out what these running backs are too. That's another thing. Probably going to do more of the wide receiver evaluation in the second half because Hooker will be there, and then Suckfeld will probably be battling Jake from State Farm for the first half, I think, and mostly into the third. I don't think they're going to put Hooker in too much harm's way in this game. That's going to be saved for the last home game against Pittsburgh. So I don't see them start. I don't want them to start any starters. I don't think
I
they
don't
will.
either.
And how do you assess that fourth and fifth receiver with someone like Sudfeld throwing the ball? It's unfair to the receiver.
Exactly.
And that's why I said I would think they're going to throw them receivers out there more toward the ones that are in the competition more to the end of the game instead of putting them in there because they probably want to see who the running is. If they're going to start their defense, the starting defense for the Chiefs, then you would want to see if the running backs can get through that line with the offensive line that they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just do some play action passing out of that. But
I can hear MC Decent. I saw like go up to Sudfeld, go, all right, man. Can you hand the ball off? Because that's all we need you to do. Just please, just don't try to throw it. If they're coming at give it to somebody else.
Don't run it.
All right, man.
Don't
all
throw
right, man.
it.
Get out there. Let's go.
Don't run it.
And you know what? Here's the situation where they have Suckbelt start the game. I got it. They do that formation like they did when they hated the guy in the original longest yard, and the whole O line just opens up and says, "There you go."
Oh yeah, they did that in the remake too. And then he said, "Oh, I get you guys. You guys are mad. I'm pissed."
Just let them cream them, get them out of the game on the first play. There we
There
go.
you go.
It handles it
Cut the
all.
lines.
Just let him go back to San Francisco. I think that'd be a perfect situation for us.
It,
Perfect.
it would be the perfect situation.
It would be
I
amazing.
I have my theory on how Suckfeld got re-signed. It's the same reason why Benito Jones and Will Harris got off the team finally. Because in 2021 during Hard Knocks, we heard no turds on the roster, and yet they stayed for another 2 seasons. And I think he found that thumb drive of AG keeping his job with Dan Campbell and stole it from Will Harris and Benito Jones. And so they said, "Oh, we got to bring him back."
We'll be dragging our coaches into this. That's not. That's not right.
It's a running joke that I've done for 3 years now because of Benito Jones and Will Harris.
I couldn't
Just
believe
to
they got rid of Harris, man. I was like, oh my god, is it actually happening this time? But
address that Brett comment there. They're not going to. There's no special offense during preseason anyway. They're not going to do that. They're not going to show anything. Everything's vanilla.
Even the Chiefs don't do anything other than their vanilla offense.
no.
It's a sweep right, sweep left, run up the middle,
I think it's going to be
screen
vanilla.
pass, tight
Yeah.
end, crossing route. And that's pretty much all they show. And occasionally they'll let Patrick Mahomes throw one deep downfield if somebody breaks containment from their coverage.
And if
I'm
someone
sure that's
can
going to happen.
catch.
I'm sure it's going to.
Isn't Marquise Brown injured?
Yep.
He's injured.
So he
So
won't be
let's
starting.
see.
But the rugby
Hey.
player they picked up from the international pathway has been their leading receiver with Patrick Mahomes. The couple drives he was in. The kid runs a 4.29 40. Yeah.
Dang.
So and he's got he doesn't drop passes, so he has more targets and receptions than Xavier Worthy.
What do you got him doing? Just going post?
They've had him doing the post, the fly, the go route, and a couple of midfield crossing routes. Not really the slant, the one that goes a little deeper, just not quite the post.
Yeah, I was
Can't
going to say
remember
because
the name of that
I'm
route.
sure he's not used to running routes. So I would probably, if I was a corner, I'd try to make him go around me,
Right,
go,
press man,
make a route,
get
make a
up in
dig
there,
or something.
get up in
Yeah.
there, knock him off his route.
Oh, good. Oh, good. AG can play zone in this. That's his favorite thing.
I just saw a video about him, and I was watching him catch passes in the first preseason game. But Brent DeWitt says, I think, yeah, you just addressed that, so that's good. And then there's Boom Boom Brent DeWitt. All right. So none of us think they should really play starters on offense, but I'm going to do one caveat. Andy Reid has done this every year he's been in Kansas City, even after they shortened the preseason. He has played his starters for 2 games, one for 2 drives in the first game, and then he plays them a half in the second game. He evaluates all the talent left to determine on the roster from the rest of those 2 games in the third game alone. The third game, that's when the starters sit. And he said, you know what? Injuries happen in practice too. And we don't do practice quite like we used to. So the only way to get these guys in game shape is to get them game reps. And I kind of agree with them. These joint practices, we've seen that we've spent more time fighting than we have practicing the last couple of them we've had. So,
Well, he's the Lions and the Giants.
well, we also had some fights with the Colts the year before. So, I don't get it. I don't like it. The two-a-days are gone. That's when all the soft tissue injuries went up. But the only thing that's gone down by them shortening everything is career-ending injuries prior to the season. That's the only thing that's gone down. Soft tissue injuries. Uh, it used to be a quarter or 2 drives in the first game, and then it was like up to a half in the second game, and the third game was a dress rehearsal because there was a cut down after each game.
In the 80s and 90s football, they started all of them.
Right.
There's 2 rookies in there in the end. That's all they did.
Right. All your guys that were competing for a job to ride the pine. Yeah, I'm talking about first string. In the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, you the first quarter was first string for both teams automatically in the first game. The second game, you'd get a half out of them. The third game was your dress rehearsal. You'd see them for almost 3 quarters. The fourth game is when you did your evaluation for the back end of the roster. That was when the starters sat.
But you got to remember too that you go back far enough, and they didn't have these rookie mini camps like we have now. The entire training camp was much shorter and smaller. There's a lot less opportunities for injury to begin with, and on top of that, if you just look, obviously we have a visual on it now. Back in the day, if you didn't go, you weren't watching. There was no YouTube, there was no social media, right? So we didn't know how hard they were on each other. You had to read the paper. But nowadays, you got all these kids on their phones. They all got TikTok. They're all doing this kind of stuff, social media. They're trying to show out for more than just their coaches. They know that millions of eyes are on them, and I guarantee you that feeds into their energy. That feeds into their drive to perform better, and maybe not for a good reason. So if you go into the entire psychology of it, you got a lot of kids pushing a lot harder than they probably should be pushing, for a lot of different reasons. And so I don't know if and I remember that. I remember watching it where I just knew that first preseason game I was going to see my team, the team that I expected to see during the season, was going to play for that first quarter, and then you see him play a half, then you'd see him play pretty much all the third game, and that's flipped completely now. Right. If the starters start at all. Now, obviously Andy Reid's figured something out, so I can't say anything bad about his method. I mean, obviously it's working, but that doesn't mean there's a lot of luck there too, right? As injuries happen, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. A guy steps on a blade of grass the wrong way and twists his ankle. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So he's taking a huge chance. Andy Reid's taking a huge chance doing it that way, going the old ways. But it's working for him. So why would he change it? And we're on the flip side of that. We're on the other side of that, where you got guys dropping like flies in preseason. And of course, that's going to make Campbell and his staff kind of tentative to throw those guys into games because he can't afford to lose anybody else.
Right. But at the same time, it makes you go, maybe these joint practices, because that's where a lot of our injuries happen. We had a lot of injuries in those joint practices. We've had a lot of it all goes back. The soft tissue injuries that are up right now, the ACLs, the MCLs, the Achilles, all that stuff. It's 100%. You can take it right back to 7 years ago when Corey Stringer died on the field after a two-a-day. The next year, they took away two-a-days, and soft tissue injuries have jumped up 35% since then.
Yes.
And I agree. Yes, they didn't do as much. They always had a small rookie camp because they did an invite to fill the back end of that roster. Because you got your guys that are signed to the team. You know who they are. You got the guys you brought back from the practice squad the year before. There's always guys that get jettisoned off of every team. The cannon fodder guys, the Pine Riders,
Mm-hmm.
And now, ever since then, it's been a 35% increase on these soft tissue injuries, but you don't see the career enders, is my point. So I get why they shortened up the preseason. I just hate that they took away the two-a-days. I think they should at least run one of those a week, because I think that was when those guys got their stamina and their game shape better with those two-a-days.
I don't think we should do two a day. I mean, joint practices at all. I think we just have original, practices, and then have exhibition year, playing against the teams. And I think the Lions would be doing good. Like, I think next week, or when they play Pittsburgh at home, is when they're going to have their starters come out. Because I'm sure they're going to have to get some kind of, they got to get these guys' feet wet before the season comes. There's no way you just sit all your starters the whole preseason and expect them to be coming out on fire. They got to get that rust off of them.
That is a Jack Campbell jersey, is it not, PC?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. We got Ralph Williams popping in of RW Media. He's our Steelers guy when I do the NFL show on Wednesdays. We kind of do it like we did with that We Are the Lions Nation there, PC, where we talk about the 3 biggest stories in the NFL, and then we do the pick'ems throughout the week. I like doing it on Wednesday better because you're not competing with trying to draw people away from an NFL game on Thursdays.
Exactly. That's why I like them on Wednesdays too. And this week's Thursday opener or year's Thursday opener should be a doozy.
But yeah, that's almost everything I had. I believe.
That was fast.
Yeah, we do get through it fast. But you know what? That's when we go and we can talk about whatever we want to with the team. B, do you got any subjects you want to bring up? You
Sorry.
sometimes throw one out there, B. Bistrella.
Me? Oh, sorry.
Bistrella.
Oh, do I have anything? I mean, really, it's been actually kind of a quiet week of practice. Considering the first day was like three of our first string players are gone out, but we just know that Jameer Gibbs is better. He won't have to worry about too much. And Rake Shaw, I think he came back in this week and practiced. Arnold, I think they're sitting him, and I think he came back a couple of times during practice this week, but they're basically trying to keep him, down a little bit so you don't get more injury on that. They really got to do. I think they really just got to revamp this whole off season, and because if there's soft tissue injuries, people are out for a while. I mean, is it really? Are you really trading career-ending injuries for soft tissue injuries that don't allow the player to play in the game anyway? So I mean, they got to find a happy medium to that. Football is just a dangerous sport. It's a rough sport. It is what it is, and I think that's the problem. Stop making it a girly sport, okay? It's a man-gladiator sport. That's what everybody likes to see. Like to see hits. So I can't stand Goodell with these damn defensive things. Yes, these people get paid a lot of money to play football. You know, at the end of the day, that's just as plain as it gets. You get paid a lot, and you know what you do when you go into these games. You have a chance to get hurt. You know this as a football player. So all these people trying to be sissies on this game. I don't understand this. Stop.
If I remember right, somebody said back in the old days when the rookies came out before they got their contract, they got a disclaimer that they had to sign that they understood they were risking serious bodily harm to make this money, which made the NFL pretty much at that time. It was ironclad. You couldn't sue the NFL if you got hurt playing a game. But the NFL, if it was a career ender, they always took care of that person. We always heard about what they did if somebody had a career ending injury. They got the remainder of their contract paid by the NFL. Why? They can afford to do it. It comes off of the bottom line. Because the NFL itself says it's a nonprofit organization. So every bit of that money's got to go somewhere after the salaries are done.
Yeah, it's the richest nonprofit company in planet Earth.
Yeah, it is. Just like NCAA.
Stupid.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think I say that out loud every time I watch a game and these guys are coming off with a stub toe. It's like, put me in. I'll take your free health care. I don't care. I'll take a pension. Like, I get it. I understand it. From someone who's the klutziest person on earth that's broken about everything he possibly can, I know what pain feels like. But I guarantee it hurts a lot less when I'm making $30 million a fucking minute. Pardon my language. So, I know this is a swear. It's not a swear free zone; it's a swear friendly zone. So,
Yes, it is.
I might drop a few. But yeah, I watch these games and I'm like, look, I get it. I mean, barring something that would make you physically unable to compete, tape it up. That's why they've got trainers on the sidelines. Tape it up and get your ass back out there until you can't walk anymore. And if you can't, there will be somebody else that's more than willing to take half of what you're making to go out and do the exact same thing. I'm with you, man. Like I understand concussions and things like that. That if you can't see straight, I get it. And there should be medical attention afterwards. These older guys that deal with these lifetime injuries. I deal with one myself on a daily basis. I get therapy for it, and I'm going to need it the rest of my life. These guys, and I have to pay for that. These guys, it's part of their paycheck, right? Or not even part of their paycheck, because they get it as part of their deal. So, to me, there's no excuse. I'm sorry, it's no excuse unless your foot's falling off. Go play football.
Brent, according to Dan Campbell, they're all going to be ready by week 1. Rakestraw has already been taking team activities already at practice, but I don't think they're going to use him in the game because they don't want to risk further injury, because it is a strain of the ankle. It's not a sprain. It's not an Achilles. It's none of that. It was just a strain. So I think they're just going to play everybody with kids' gloves, because Terry and Arnold returned to team practice and he had tightness at the end of the day. So he sat out a day, then he came back a day, and then he sat out a day. I don't think he'll see the field either. I think neither one of them should see the field this time. It's about Meek and Carlton Davis. And somebody said he got hurt, and I was like, wait a minute, I just watched him walk off the field today, and they were doing a joke for the last day of practice, and it literally, the camera guy put up a blank piece of paper. Normally they'd have a question that they ask as they're walking in, and they were just pranking him. He goes, it's blank. He goes, no, there's a question, you got to squint. Made the first guy get right up in there like this. It was awesome. But he walked off the field carrying his pad, which means he was a part of the team event. Because they all shed their pads before they even get in the locker room, because that stuff is, when you're hot and sweaty like that, and it's been muggy today. They made me the safety guy at work because I had been hurt in just about every way possible. I remember that, Dad. When he worked for Fisher Body, and then also downtown here in Flint. But man,
So let me ask a question of you.
Sure.
Jeremy. How do you feel about, we talked a little bit about this, I actually made a comment earlier about this, and I was kind of holding off to elaborate, figured not message back and forth till tonight. So we were talking a little bit about this idea of kind of pointless to play, third stringers against first stringers. We had a kind of a quick back and forth, and I started thinking about it a bit. And yes, there you have a point, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate just for the sake of conversation here. There's always 2 or 3 guys every season on every team, and I'm talking kids trying to get a job, that are going to look better than other players. But how do you know that when they're playing against that other third string? Don't you really kind of need to play against that first string, because those are the people they're going to have to play against if they make the team, right?
Oh, I agree.
I'm actually preseason to me, I've got my feet on the ground. I don't care about the end score. It feels great to win. Doesn't really matter. What I really like to see is these, handful, if that, of kids that get that chance to play against, say, the champs offensive line and get that sack. Those are the people I want on the team, because they've proven to me that they can play against the first string, even though they've got no lateral support. They've got 4 other guys next to them that probably aren't going to get it done, but they somehow find a way without that extra support to get through the line, get the job done. So in that sense, I think it's very important that we see third or second string against a good first string team to assess those guys. So that's my side of it. That's my devil's advocate to your argument earlier.
I can see what you mean.
Yeah,
I can see what you mean.
I understand that too.
That's
And if we're
a
going
good
to do
take.
that, then take everybody who's considered a bubble player, the guys who might not make the team right now. And if you listen to what they've said about Pascal, Houston, and even Betts at times, those are 3 guys that are fighting for that final spot in the backup room. Those 3 guys right there. Levi Amwuzurike, he's up there with Martin right behind Aleem and Reeder right now, so he has nothing to worry about. Wingo, if you actually watch that game, he did a couple of things good, but he whiffed on Eric Gray. Both times he ran right by him. He had nobody on him, and he could have had him right there, and he got a fingernail on his shirt, and Eric Gray was gone. And I'm sorry, people can say, "Oh, look at the elite traits he had when he was in when they were in pass protection, and he took on two guys." So that's all fine and dandy. But a defensive tackle has got to be a run stuffer, and he was at LSU, and he's not doing it against other backups just like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with that concept because, and you think that the players that are backups or trying to fight for a job are going to be hungry because they're saying, "Oh, we're going against the starters against the Chiefs, and if I make my mark here, damn, I got a job." You know what I'm
Right,
saying? So they're going to be trying as hard as possible to make a play against the first stringers for the Chiefs. So I agree with that wholeheartedly.
right. And the one knock on Wingo that everybody loves him because he's that tweener side. He reminds them of those Aaron Donald type of players. I'm not saying they remind him of Aaron Donald, but it's that size that makes everybody go, ooh. You know what I mean? Kind of like Pascal was, Levi Onwuzurike.
Yep.
All of those guys are undersized DTs and oversized defensive ends
Yep.
for their size. And Wingo's one of those guys that if you actually look at his scouting report, when it goes to weaknesses, it literally says change of direction and lateral agility, which means you
Yeah,
have to have
that's
that at
pass rusher. That's
defensive
pure
end.
pass rusher is what that sounds like.
Right,
And that's the same boat that Houston's in.
right.
You know, these are pure pass rushers. They don't know how to contain. They know how to pass rush. You saw that with Aiden his rookie season. He was so amped up, he blew right by the quarterbacks. And he figured it out. We knew he would because he's got the skill set. But you've got these guys, and you hear it all the time. Versatility, versatility, versatility. That's why somebody like Sione Vodka is most likely going to make this team because if God forbid you lose four linebackers, he's going to freaking be out there playing linebacker. And he's a pretty damn good college linebacker. I bet you could figure it out. So, you know, what I'm saying is versatility goes a long way. And so when you got guys like Houston, which probably, I mean, I think we could all agree probably has a leg up on somebody like Wingo just based on, you know, we've seen him and they've seen him. But you got to do more than rush the passer and get lucky once in a while. That's not going to make this team. We needed that guy 3 years ago. We don't need that guy anymore.
Right.
And so
we got like 8 of those guys that are on the back half of that
exactly.
roster fighting.
We're in a good place. We don't need that person anymore. We need a few of them, but we don't need an extra. So unless he can show me something, you know, without any support, when it's like what we were just talking about, where he's out there with maybe one other second stringer and a bunch of third stringers, and they're pushing, trying to get a 50 line. Yeah. If I can see some progression from that first game till now, yeah, great. Maybe you make special teams, maybe you get a couple reps, but
I don't know.
anyway.
I feel bad because I predicted this because of the type of injury that Houston had. I've been saying it ever since it happened. He may never be the same player again. He doesn't have the same bend, he doesn't have the same get off, and he doesn't have the change of direction skills anymore. That ankle, because it's a broken one and it's pinned now, it's constantly got to be retaped. And he just doesn't have that explosive first step that he had. And it's sad, but I kind of had a feeling it would happen because I know people who've had that injury when they were young and they never healed right. I understand that he's the epitome of health, an NFL player, and blah, blah, blah. But when you've seen repeated failed rehabs for people that was doing it right that weren't totally out of shape, it it tends to lend a little credence. And because that it was his push off leg that he broke the ankle on. That's why he doesn't have that same first step anymore.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And it sucks. It sucks. But we've seen these type of injuries affect people before. And it has done that to him. And that's why they said, okay, we're going to put him back out at Sam to see if he could do it. He can't cover to save his ass. Why put him out there? He was one thing. AG experimented last year, put him out there on Fant. And
He didn't do good last year. I mean, when they put him there before, they didn't do good, and that was during games.
Right.
So I mean, I don't understand.
I know.
AG.
They did it versus Noah Fant in the Seahawks game. He put him at Sam linebacker and had him cover Noah Fant. And we saw him roll and come up gimpy. He walked funny going off the field. He didn't tell anybody he was hurt. He just said, just tape it up. I'm fine. and he went back out on special teams, and that was when he broke his ankle. He was way worse than he let on, because some of these guys, they understand they're trying to make a team. They're trying to do that. They're fighting for these spots. So they grin through the little injuries. They say, "Oh, I'm just hurt. I'm not injured." You know what I mean? And they try to go back out there. And I think that's what happened with Houston. They probably pressed on his ankle, and he's like, "No, it's fine."
You're probably right. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, like that conversation we were having earlier. Like, not all guys are like that, right? I think a few guys are, but the vast majority of these kids, they're gonna fight through injuries. They're not gonna care. Their fingers are falling off. They look at this as their life's dream happening in front of their eyes. They're gonna take every chance they can get, and good for them. And they should. And they're not even getting paid yet. So, you know, good for them. But with guys like Wingo and Houston, these kind of I don't know, like
Day 3 project.
very, very specific type of structure players, and you combine that with Aaron Glenn's bend don't break defense, he's not that aggressive. Aaron Glenn is not. He relies on a 4-man pass rush so much of the time. We're not going to utilize these players enough to have a bunch of them on the team. So it's best man for the job. If Wingo gets it, great. If Houston gets it, great. I don't care who it is. Quite honestly, I'll be happy for whoever it is, but I just don't see a big need for these players on the team. Not that we don't need them. It's just Aaron Glenn doesn't use them, so It won't really matter.
And let's go back to that Chicago game when we lost in Chicago. Dan Campbell's up there at the podium, and he goes, "Man, I'm going to have to put my hand on this defense. It's just not aggressive enough." What'd we do the rest of the season? We were aggressive. We were getting after the quarterback. We were rushing 5 and 6 guys. It made a total difference towards the end of the season. Can you imagine how bad our passing defense would have been if we weren't doing that the last 5, 6 games?
And that's when Dan took over the defense, did he?
Right. That's exactly it. And everybody says, "Oh, where did you hear that?" Out of Dan Campbell's mouth. I watch every post-game presser because that's what makes it easier for us to do a post-game review. You watch the coach. You understand what he says. And Dan Campbell, yes, when he first got here and he was being a jokester and everything else and saying all this stuff, and he was trying to build the hype because he knew this roster was trash. Don't kid yourself. He wasn't a meathead that was calculated. He wanted people to sleep on him.
Exactly.
I think it's clear as day what they're trying to do as far as the defensive scheme. It's obvious from the draft that they want to be aggressive, but they could not get to the quarterback. There's always that half second. They're trying to make up that half second. It's always that half. Really, it's like it's a fingertip thing, right? They're almost there, but they're not there.
Yep.
And they knew that they couldn't be aggressive without bolstering and rebuilding the defensive backs. They knew they couldn't do it. So they went after defensive backs right away. And I think we honestly, so far from what I've seen, it's not the Gibbs draft, but I think it's going to turn into something like that if all of a sudden we have a pass rush, but we haven't changed the scheme to get that pass rush, because Aaron Glenn still wants a 4-man, 5-man pass rush, but we didn't have the people to give them that extra half a second to get to the quarterback. Right. It's all a symbiotic relationship back there. And if it's not all working together, it's either going to look like, yeah, you almost got it, but you're still trash, or, okay, now we got something cooking back there. And I think that's what they're going for. So I don't think you're going to see a big difference in actual defensive scheme. What I think you're going to see is our defensive backs giving Aiden and giving, whether it's Davenport or whoever, enough time to get around that edge, give them that extra half a second. And I really feel like that is this season. And that's the difference between us having home field advantage and us, tooth and nail fighting through the playoffs. I really think that's the difference.
Yep. 100%. 100% well said. It's so good to have you back talking football, PC. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
I apologize for kind of rambling, and I apologize for talking.
No,
you're
it's
good,
good to meet you, man. We love people like this.
Okay, well,
I watch every presser too. I watch every chance I get, man.
Every postseason, every training camp presser.
Yes. The nice thing about being a writer for the publication I do, if I miss them, I get the quote sheet the next day sent right to me by email from the presser. so I can read it verbatim what the question was asked. Because half the time when you're watching the presser, you don't hear the question, you just hear the answer. I don't know
yeah.
why these reporters don't know how to speak up into a microphone or something.
All they got to do is mic the room. I don't understand why they don't do it. I've
Right.
been saying that. If you go back, I'm not saying waste your time, but I challenge you to go look for my name in comments within the first 2 or 3 comments of every freaking post-game presser. Hey, Sheila,
Mike
SM57, wonderful microphone. It's about $80. Get a couple of those suckers. I know you sell a fucking pickup truck and put a couple overhead mics in there and everybody's happy. I don't understand. Like this billion-dollar company can't afford a couple room mics.
Right.
Yes, I did see a presser where I heard everybody's question and DC's answer very clear. I don't know if it's not that they don't have the microphones in there or somebody just can't situate them right. I have no idea what goes on there because one day it's great, the next day it's like, what the hell? What happened here?
It is weird because I
Okay.
remember, I think that might be that same press conference. I remember that when I was like, oh my God, they mic'd the room. And I actually said something. I was like, thank you so much for getting mics in the next press conference. Back to normal.
Okay. Does anybody know where that quote came from? That's our trivia question of the night.
No idea.
Think
It's
back,
gotta be
DC.
from
It
my
was
old
a
head.
long time ago. You'll remember it.
Oh,
Was it you? No, I'm kidding.
certainly wasn't me.
I got a topic after this, but it's interesting.
I'm only witty after like 5 Jack and Cokes. So it's
Okay.
There you go.
This was from the 9th annual Young Comedian Special hosted by Rodney Dangerfield. A young man that did his own impressions came on the stage, and his name was Bob Nelson. And he goes, "Hello, I play football with the football on the football field. And if it wasn't for football, I wouldn't be playing football today."
I thought that would have been. I was going to guess Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, yeah.
No, but I remember that routine. I used to mimic it because it got to the point where I knew it word for word from backwards and front.
Robin Williams would have been my guess for sure, because he loves sports.
Yep, comedian from the 80s, Bob Nelson.
Hi, Yoli.
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? She asked, how is everyone?
Tired.
Hi, chat. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Kevin, by the way.
Yeah,
Brandon
Kevin,
Wicks.
great to see you. Good comments. Thank you, sir. Didn't get a chance to address them because we were dealing with the subject. And now it's Will Vogel's turn. What do you want to talk about?
I'm a little pissed off at documentarians right now because it doesn't have to do with the lines. Did you guys hear who's playing John Madden in the documentary? Nicolas Cage. I was like, what?
How is
What?
that?
Age.
You didn't get Frank Caliendo, who can do everyone
that have been
casting
over.
wise. Yeah,
Nicolas Cage has one character, and it's Nicolas Cage.
yeah,
Right.
and it's terrible.
He can't even
Someone
act.
said, is he gonna steal the declaration of winning the Super Bowl? I said yes.
No, you know what he's going to do? He's going to sit there and he's going to audition the cheerleaders and say, I can eat a pizza for hours.
I hated that casting call. Why not Frank Caliendo? He does a great
Yes.
John Madden voice, and he could play everyone else in the
He
documentary.
actually kind of looks a little bit more like him, at least, like
Yeah,
body shape and all
He's
that.
got his-
Nick Cage is going to have to gain 150 pounds to
No
look
kidding.
Madden.
He's gonna have to take all his hair plugs out,
He
and,
doesn't even
and
he doesn't even have the same
build. Yeah.
it's not,
oral
yeah, exactly. It's not even-
oral action as you know. You got to talk like you have. If you're John Madden, you got to talk like you've got a mouthful of steak, basically,
Yeah,
because
you
that's what John Madden
Exactly.
sounded like.
you gotta take the turkey leg and start chewing on it, then talk.
Yeah.
Like, John Madden.
Yeah.
Is Frank
There you go.
Caliendo dead? I thought
No, Frank Caliendo's still alive. I think you're thinking of someone else. You know who could have also played John Madden if he was still alive? John Candy.
You guys was
Imagine.
John Candy or
Like John
what's the other
Belushi. or
big
something.
guy? What's the other big
Belushi.
guy that just?
Oh, you're
just
thinking
passed
of.
away?
I know exactly who you're thinking of. You're thinking
John
of.
Goodman? John
No,
Goodman?
the van by the river. What was his name?
Oh, Chris Farley.
Chris Farley. He would have been
Farley.
another good
Oh
one.
my God, I would have
He would be.
lost it.
He would be incredible. He would be the best.
Oh, did
You
you
already
see
remember
what
that
Kevin
suit he
said,
wore in
Jeremy?
that Saturday Night
Is
Live
he
skit? That
is
plaid suit coat? That's a John Madden suit coat, man. He's already dressed up.
did you see what Kevin said? He said, "Oh, I'm gonna wait till Jeremy comes back." He froze. He said, "Oh, sorry, he's not just married."
Well, that means you're dead, right? If you get married, that's pretty much the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, supposedly. Pastrilla, you're the host now. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
where'd our illustrious host go?
Jeremy, you've
Uh,
changed a lot.
yeah, Chris Farley. Yeah, he was good for that.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
Nick Cage, dude. What the heck? Like, how stupid are you?
Yeah, that's just. What are you
Nick
gonna do?
Cage
Put like
hasn't
a
been
rubber
relevant.
stomach on him or something? I don't understand how that was gonna work.
I don't know, but I'm not a
It's
fan of Nick
idiotic.
Cage. There's only two Nick Cage movies I like. Everyone's like,
I
"Oh,
mean,
Gone in 60 Seconds." No, I love Kick Ass, and I love
I only Gone in 60 Seconds. That was pretty
Gone in
good.
60 Seconds. Good.
Oh, Con Air was all right.
Con Air is
What's
good
the?
too. Yep.
I'm trying to think. What's the one I'm thinking of?
That
National Treasure's decent. Jeremy, did you see Kevin said, "Oh, no, sorry, he's not just married."
yeah, yeah. He actually got married in 2003.
Goodman is fantastic. He might be a little too old now. Maybe.
Yeah, but he's thinned out though.
Yeah, that's the
That's the
thing.
thing.
Goodman
Yeah,
has
he
thinned
got
out.
thinned out.
Yeah, Wild at Heart. Yeah, that was a good one.
Oh, there's
Yeah,
Arizona. That was good. That was one of
I'm,
his first movies.
I'm probably gonna watch and just laugh and say this isn't John Madden.
See, now I'm gonna go watch a Nicolas Cage movie and hate it any. This is a problem. I don't
Hate
like him.
it more.
I'm gonna have to go pirate a stupid movie now.
We've all done it.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
I'm
Yeah,
kind of,
like,
and then I
I'm not.
also,
Yeah, I'm not getting caught for pirating a Nick Cage movie. I'm gonna pirate something worthwhile.
I
and
know
then I
that's right.
also read that the Bengals lost a tackle this year. Poor Joe Burrow.
Isn't that the rookie tackle too that they lost?
yeah, the guy they just drafted.
Think so.
Yeah.
Man,
Oops.
Was it?
say what you want. We've been actually pretty blessed that it's all been backups with the season-ending injury. We've also been blessed that everybody who's been hurt has been able to come back so far as who's in the starters. The teams that are hurt the most right now, well, Minnesota because of the whole situation,
Yeah.
and the
San Francisco's
49ers.
a mess.
The
Yeah, they're a mess.
49ers are a mess. With two
Woo.
holding out plus 29 on the injury report, that's 31 guys out of a 90-man roster that is not practicing, that will not play a game.
Yeah, not to
How
mention
many do you have to have dress on the field for start?
53 players.
Oh
You have
my
to have a
God,
minimum
that
of
is
53
bad.
players. So
Or
if
you
they're
have to
down
forfeit,
31,
right?
they're down 31. Think about that. That leaves 59 players left, right?
But just remember, it's still early,
Oh yeah.
considerably early before the season. So most of those people are just, like we're talking about these guys that probably got a broken fingernail tip or their toe hurts or something like
No,
that.
that's Caleb Williams. Get that
But
right,
I'm
Pastrilla.
just,
He has a
I'm
chip.
just saying, it's the whole situation. These players are a little softer about their injuries than they used to be. So that's part of the problem too. But if San Francisco can't go into the season like that, definitely with all of them injuries, because um, they're trying to get back to the Super Bowl. I don't see it happen. I think this is a year they regress. Actually, to tell you the truth,
I
but
think
they
them
are
and
they are coming
Philly
close to a deal
regress.
with Ayuk now.
So
They offered him $33 million.
for B, Will, and PC, I do have a couple of sponsors that don't pay us at all, and you're going to love them because I added one today.
What?
Broski Berry even likes this one.
Uh oh.
It's
Yes,
FTB.
yes.
Fuck the Bears.
Have you said that
And of course,
Have you
there's
said that to Leonard?
our favorite one that we've always had. It's fuck the pack.
Have you said those to Leonard yet? Please tell me you have.
Leonard's the one that sent them to me. He's working on the Viking one for us.
Oh no. You can't screw a Viking horn, you'll get stabbed.
I want them to do the one where it shows every time they lose, they have one that they put on their broadcast for after the game, and it shows a crying Viking. I want that on there.
I got a Sharpie and some paper around here somewhere. I can make you a quick stick figure, no problem, man.
Jeremy, did you ever see the meme where it's the Viking logo and it's inside the eyes, it's the crying Jordan, and the logo's the crying Jordan Vikings logo?
Yeah, I've seen that, but it's FSKOL because fuck skull, and skull is an acronym. It's been that way ever since 1970 when they went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost. Still keep on losing.
Yes.
Poor Vikings.
And it was funny because they were talking about basement teams since the millennium, since 2001. Do you realize the Lions have been in the basement less than the Bears since 2001?
That's awesome.
To realize the Dallas Cowboys haven't won a NFC, haven't been in an NFC championship
Since
this century at all.
1997.
Nope.
I saw a meme where it's in Lion King, I think it's Simba and Mufasa, and the actual thing goes like before it goes, "Hey Dad, what's that?" Oh, he's like, "Oh son, we don't go over there. That's a Badland." The meme says, "Hey Dad, what's that over there?" "Oh, I don't know. That's the Super Bowl, son. We're Cowboys fans. We haven't been there in many, many years."
I used to hate that when they did it with the Lions, though.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
so cool. We haven't been there.
Did you
Yeah.
see the Family Guy parody of the Lions where Brian falls in the Lions cage and he's like, "Whoa, aren't you guys supposed to lose a game on Thanksgiving?"
Yes, I saw that. Stop. But man, it has been fun. And PC, are you going to get back into podcasting yourself, or are you just going to continue to be guest places?
Man, I've got the setup for it, and I don't have a ton of time. I run a company, and it's my company, which means I'm everybody,
Right.
and it's a lot of work. So when I say I'm on lunch, I'm taking a lunch and I'm putting myself back to work, which is hard to do when, yeah, it's motivating yourself, man. I tell you what, if you work for yourself, whether that's streaming, podcasting, I run a wood shop. I'm logistics, I'm payroll, I'm production, I'm shipping,
You're everybody.
Yeah, it's tough to make time, but Friday nights are usually good for me.
Okay. So if
'cause
you want to be a regular on Friday nights, I'm all for it. We
It
do
was
this
great
every
meeting
Friday
you.
night
It
at 9.
was awesome meeting you, man, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it. It's nice meeting you as well.
So I'm a Panther pseudo Lions fan. Just heads up. You
We
could give
converted
me
them because
shit about the Panthers.
It's
The
same-
Panthers suck.
it's
Yeah, I know.
similar colors. You got that part right. You
And they're
close.
both cats, yeah.
Hey,
My dad's
you
a
know.
Vikings fan. He's from Minnesota. I don't listen to that nonsense.
So my dad played for the Minnesota Vikings farm team in 1977, 78, and 79, and he shattered his kneecap in training camp. And I remember I was born in 76. And so my first memories of my dad are him in this huge leg cast, like from thigh all the way down to his ankle, back when that's how they casted you up, and he had pins and weird shit running through his kneecap. And he would tell me these stories. I have all these pictures. He's got all his stuff. I remember when I walked down the basement, he had all of his pictures and his gear and stuff kind of like hanging on the wall and stuff. That's his claim to fame, was he made it to training camp. He was invited back then. You could get like a non-draft invitee. He went to Grand Valley State University, and that's where he got his invite from.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
Wow.
so I grew up, but we're from Michigan. We're all from Michigan. I was born in Cadillac, and I grew up in that area. And so even though that was like his claim to fame, so to speak, he was always a diehard Lions fan. And as soon as he came home, that jersey came off and it went down in the basement, and it was Lions gear.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, so it's always been that way with us. But yeah, growing up in kind of a football family, I was expected to play football. I was expected, and I was like, fuck that, I'm playing drums. so, so I, so I was, I probably should have played football. I probably could have played football, but because I was a rebellious little piece of crap, I was like, no, man, I'm going to make as much noise as possible and annoy
You,
everybody. So,
you know what's funny is, real quick, my dad's from Minneapolis, and he grew up going to Minnesota Viking games and blah blah blah. His dad's from Kansas, and he's a Broncos fan because they live in Colorado now. My dad was a drummer as well, and he actually was in a middle school band with David Perner, who would later be the lead singer of Soul Asylum.
yeah, man.
That's awesome.
So I played for quite a while. I mean, I never professional. The farthest we ever got
My
was
dad didn't
we owned
either.
a van and a trailer. You know, we would travel to Chicago or we travel to Minneapolis or whatever. We didn't go anywhere else than that. But yeah, I've met some of the like in weird situations, met some of the craziest, like famous people, and most of the time they're just the most normal human beings on the planet.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
And like this hat, so I was at the draft, so was the Gibbs Campbell draft, at the casino in Mount Pleasant, and Herman Moore was doing his podcast there. That's just when they were getting started with Lions Nation Unite, and I think Mike was there and a few other people were there. Dion was just kind of getting into it as well, and I met those guys there. I got to talk to him and talk about my dad and stuff with him. Such a great guy. I'm sure you've met more. I'm assuming Jeremy, you've met Herman.
Yeah, I met
Fantastic
him
human being.
at the same place, just not the same time.
Yeah. It's so cool to be in this community. And anyway, so roundabout way of saying thank you for having me. And yeah, I definitely like to come back. I wish I had more time, and if I do, yeah, and I'm invited. Never invite myself, but if I'm invited, absolutely, I'd love to come back.
Yeah, every Friday, and I'll do the same thing. A couple hours before the show, I'll shoot you the topic.
Sure, yeah, let's get this thing
But,
rolling, man. I'd love to help the channel out,
I'll
whatever you
give
want
you
me
a
to do.
full circle thing because my dad is who turned me into a Lions fan. He took me to my first game in '82, and 40 years to the day, I took Dad to his first game at Ford Field,
that's awesome.
What game was that?
Seattle. The Seattle game.
Damn.
When we because of the time clock management thing.
So
we finally
sorry for that.
Yeah, I
So
know.
sorry
But,
for
you
that.
know,
My
Billy Sims
condolences.
is the one who turned me into the original Lions fan I am. He's my OG 20, even though Lem Barney's the OG, and I know this, but my OG 20 is Billy Sims.
Oh yeah. So my in high school, so this was like 90 through 95. Um, our high school marching band played a halftime show during preseason at the Silverdome. We get bussed down there and we get a hotel. And so we'd be standing in the tunnel at the end of the second quarter going into halftime, and all the Lions players would come down the tunnel as we're kind of standing aside against the wall so they can get through. And then we run out. We have like 10 minutes. We got to get off the field. And every time, like it was every year. So it was 4 straight years. And, given, and you'd be amazed, man, like Benny Blades getting high fives from Benny Blades and Porsche and all these guys. Well, it was Porsche was beyond that. Sorry. God, who else was it?
Luther Ellis.
Holmes Brown.
No, yeah, I got Porsche mixed up with God, what's his name? Anyway, long story short, I don't want to ramble on, but just having those memories as a kid and like being on the field, man, like just amazing memories. Silverdome was such a shithole, but I love it, man. That place was so amazing. It's so like echoey and crappy, audio, and
At
they
the
had
same
that.
time, yeah.
It had such character, man. It had like this rawness to it. And Ford Field's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but Silverdome had something about it, and it was just raw. And it smelled like old hot dogs, and it was just awesome. I love that place.
Until you got out in the concession area where you couldn't smell the hot dogs, but you could the restroom.
And the floors, like, don't wear your good shoes, man, because it was like suction cups all around that concourse, man. It was like sticky from years and years of like soda that was spilled and built up. Man, I love that place.
Yeah, I remember one of my father also got me in that. He was the one that was always cussing at the TV all the time, so I had to be an honorary Lion fan in that regard. But I had when I had gotten out the Navy in '91, the first I just young going out to clubs and stuff like that. Well, there's this one popular club in Pontiac that a lot of people were going to. So I decided, me and a couple of my boys went up there, and half the Lions were there in this club. Lomas Brown, Barry Sanders, Jerry Ball. I mean, these guys are great, and they were, you would think of awe as a football player, but they're just normal people, just like you and me. They're just out there having a good time, and it was cool. We had a ball out there. So I mean, players are people too.
Yeah, Lomas Brown is who I was thinking of. I
Yeah.
remember his gigantic hands. They were like 4 times the size
Hmm.
of my hands. He gave me a high five. I remember it hurt, and I could feel it like throbbing for like 10 minutes after that. And I'm playing on drum line and playing snare drum, and I couldn't feel my right hand. I remember this one time because I laid into it, and he laid into it. I couldn't feel my right hand going out there to play our show, and I'm just hoping I don't drop my drumstick, man. Yeah, those are good. Those are good memories. Those are
Yeah.
really good.
Oh
Memories.
man. Yep.
Man,
That and going to the
What's up,
uh,
Jeremy?
John Sally's house when they were having a party there, not realizing it was John Sally's house, and went there. Isaiah was there, John was there. Obviously, met a lot of the Piston players there, but it was like all kinds of sports people there. So it was that was pretty cool too. Just got to be at the right place at the right time, I guess, for me, because I
100%.
met all of them.
So
Yeah.
I do have to talk about my other sponsor because they actually pay me. So if I'd be totally wrong if I neglected to talk about them, and that
I
is
know that's right.
Brandon Service, right at the corner of Grand Traverse and West Atherton Road. They sell used and new tires. Where? In the wonderful city of Flint, Michigan. Flint, where the tires are shit, but the tires are good, but where the water is shit, but the tires are good.
I was about
Oh,
to say.
I got it backwards for a second. Laugh at me. Go ahead. I love it. But anyways, used tires starting at $40 and up, depending on size and condition. And if you need a quote for new tires, please call 810-233-8230. Talk to George, Red, or myself. We will give you your quote. Mention this ad. You will get $10 off a set of tires.
Dude, if his advertisement was our water is shit and so are my tires, I would buy from him in a fucking.
I would too. I'd be like, yes, fuck
I would
yes.
just want to shake his hand. Yes, sir. I will buy your tires.
Also, how many days has it been since the Aaron Rodgers to Kirby hookup?
Oh, it has been 605 days since Kirby
Oh,
Joseph hasn't been Aaron Rodgers' last receiver.
that
Yeah,
feels good to say.
the Jets conversation could be a whole show.
It
On that.
could.
Good. Best defense right now on paper in the league. If you look what they have front to back, they got the best linebackers. They got one of the best defensive tackles because they run a 3-4. And they've got arguably the best corners in the league because you can't call anybody else as good as them until they're on the field as out of the rookies that have been drafted everywhere. So, and then they've got a pretty damn good safety room too. So, if on paper, that's the best defense in the NFL right now because it's
Yeah.
established with very few rookies coming in expected to be starters.
Yeah, can Solid get him going.
They all have to play though. That's the point.
And they all have to play.
Everything has to be
Need
on
Aaron
paper.
Rodgers to play
Paper it looks good, but out there in the actual world, it's a whole different story. So we'll see.
right.
Especially with this Hassan Reddick situation. The Jets are just being just asses about that. They should have paid him as soon as he got there.
From what I understand, they offered him money, and he wants to be the top paid off ball guy this year. So they offered him like 25-5, which was a major upgrade from what he got from the Eagles per year on the average. And it didn't make him happy. He wants more. So then he started the holdout. Then he asked for the trade. And the Jets said, I just traded for you. You're under contract. I'm not trading you. They don't have to. They can say they're being jerks about it, but they're eventually going to meet somewhere because they're not going to let him miss games as a holdout. And he doesn't want to miss out on game check, not in the regular season.
No,
I'm just
pay
so
him
glad
then.
we're past all that. I'm so glad this organization says something and then does it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been a lifetime since I've seen that here, if
Right.
ever. I mean, you have to go back. You have to go back to the Wayne Fonts days, honestly, to like see the kind of cohesiveness that we have now, where people are speaking the same language and they do what they say they're going to do. And then you've got the players that are coming out, and it's like a recording of what management and the coaches are saying. There's no gap. There's no he said, she said crap. It's yep, they said they were going to do it, and they did it. And then the coach said, yeah, we said we're going to do it, so we did it. And there's nothing in between. And when you've got that from the owner all the way down to these kids just pining for a job, man, we've never had this good in my lifetime, at least. And I am one of those. I've been drinking the Kool-Aid since the end of the 2022 season.
Right.
But I've always been real. I've always been skeptical, and I've always been, well, yeah, but it's a new season. Yeah, but it's a new season, and everybody's getting better. We're getting better, but so is everybody else.
Right.
And now we got a target on our back. This is oh well, they were, they show that they can kind of compete 2022. Let's see if they can turn it, yep, they did it all. Yep, okay, well, we better be careful now. And now you got, like, I watched some NFL Network interviews today. We are considered 1 or 2 across the board of these analysts in the NFC. Not the NFC North, the NFC. We are considered, and a lot of these guys are like, well, given San Francisco's issue with injuries, and if that continues and this and that, and the Lions are pretty healthy, they don't have a lot, a lot of guys are going, look, man, the table's been set. And I don't want to get overamped up because I don't want to get my hopes up, because we've all lived through it. But at the same time,
it's hard.
I'm at a point now where, like, I can't deny it anymore. I can't see what I'm seeing and go, there's nothing I can say. I'm trying to say that they don't look right, but they all look right.
It's hard to grab a blue and silver mug and not just go.
Yeah, I was talking.
It's just, I think one of the things too, it's the confidence that's come back about being a Lions fan over the last 2 years. Now, we understood there was a rebuild year, that they're 13-1 year, or whatever that was. And it showed flashes. It showed flashes near the end of the year. So you were expecting it. And even then I was like, yeah, we'll see. Because, they might start off kind of messed up, and they did. And I was like, yeah. When they were 1-6, I was like, yeah, this is typical Lions season. We got all this good hype going on, and we ain't doing anything. We finished 9-8, and we beat Green Bay, so they couldn't make the playoffs. That game is when I knew
we were different. Right.
Yep.
Kirby Joseph with 3 interceptions that game. Aiden Hutchinson with the red zone interception in that game. I mean, and that was his rookie year. He had, 3 interceptions, which was 2 more than Sauce Gardner.
Yep. Well, I think at our age, we were all within that, 45 to whatever range. And we've all lived it, but all these kids, they haven't lived it. They haven't been around. They're just football players getting drafted on a team, and sure, they know the history, but they didn't live the history. There's a huge difference between living it and hearing about it. And these kids and this coaching staff and this management team is making sure that they don't let that get into their head.
Right.
And that's the culture change that has happened. There's all kinds of stuff that's happened, all kinds of great stuff. But the one thing that's happened is that's then. And
right.
Yeah, we got people like Chris and Barry and all these people in the organization now, and they deserve to be there. They're great for the team, but they're not bringing in the past either. Oh. They might get asked questions about it, but I'll guarantee you they have a specific set of instructions that this is who we are now. We don't drag in, and not that these guys would. I don't, They didn't bring in these people because they didn't think they would, but they don't bring these people back in. I mean, look what they just did for Calvin. It was like a week ago on a golf course. They're like, hey, dude, at the Monday night game, guess what?
Right.
That's what we need as fans, to see that it's not just talk. And all these people that I've been around my whole life, like my mom, oh my God, she's still like, whatever, SOL, this and that. And I told her at the beginning of last season, I said, this season's going to be different. I don't know how to explain it. I just know. And it's exactly what you said. After that Green Bay game, I was like, something is a switch got turned. It really, really did. I could feel it, man. I got goosebumps. I could feel something had changed. And so all off season, my mom didn't want. My mom was sick of me talking. Like a lot of people get sick of me talking. I'm like, look, it is gonna be different. Something's gonna happen this season. And at the end of the season, she's putting her jersey back on. I get it, bandwagon fans. Like I got a little. There's a little hard spot for me when it comes to people jumping on board. But my mom is. That's a different thing.
Right. Because she was there back when it was really
exactly.
bad.
Yeah. And so she was just like, she's like, I can't remember having this such a good time since Billy Sims and all this stuff. And it's just awesome to have the family back into it and going to my brother's house and having a big party. And yeah, man.
People like us, we remember Billy Sims being there and putting us within a field goal of winning versus San Francisco in the playoffs and having Eddie Murphy miss it.
Eddie Murray, yeah.
Eddie Murphy.
Really dumb, Eddie Murphy.
And
it was almost a joke.
It was almost as funny. It was Eddie Murphy kicking that one. It wasn't Eddie Murray.
He was nailing them all game, and then when it counts, he misses it. I'm like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you, man?
It wasn't even close.
My father went on a swearing tirade that to this day I don't think I could. I'm still shutting my ears to because it's a Monty Clark Cray game. That's what I call it. Yeah.
But man, talking football has been probably one of the best things I ever started doing. And I love the fact that I've grown the slow way because I'm one of those guys that B's heard me do it. When the rumors come out, I'm like, we're not doing that. Brad Holmes tells you what he's going to do. When he says we're waiting for someone to step up, that means they're looking at someone in the free agency market. They are not looking to trade for anybody. We already don't have any third-round picks next year. And Brad gets gems 4 through 7. He covets them more than he does the third-rounders. Because the third round and the second round is where he's kind of like, he looks good. He looks like one of our guys. Oops, it didn't work.
I'd be interested to see across the league, out of all 32 teams, how many of the GMs were scouts. I'd be curious to see what that statistic is.
I bet
he made his news for a long time as a scout before he ever worked his way up. And that is why he is how he is. That is how he is how he is. He knows what to look for.
Yeah,
he's the one that he's the one that put 40, 50,000 miles a year on a car driving around the country looking at kids. So you can't ask for a better guy. And for him and Campbell to just be in lockstep the way they are, this is it, man. Like, I might actually make it we might actually make it to see it. And then I can die happy. So we'll be good after that.
Yeah.
On that note, I have to go. It's pouring rain, and I got to clean up the outside with a bunch of stuff out there before it gets soaking wet. So
okay, buddy. Thank you for coming, PC. And
it was great to meet you.
That's
this guy, all right. Hey, it's good to meet you. And maybe next
too, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're all getting a little bit more gray in our beards now, PC.
Oh my god, this is all I got left, like right here.
Same here.
And then it's really dark.
I'm holding on to this part, yeah.
I'm gonna go get some Just Men. Fix this shit, man.
I hate it. But at the same
time,
guys, try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. That's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts right here. Much love to everybody in the chat.